Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe and this is Vaulted Assets X. Today we're going to talk about me setting up as a dealer at a local card show in South Florida. Talk about a couple concepts about scarcity of goods, our culture moving forward, accumulation of wealth, and how to look at collectibles. And then we're going to dive a little bit into some John Jones UFC cards as well at the end. So today I did the show. It's called the Coral Springs Card Show. But it's hosted by the Hobby Shop in Coral Springs, but it's actually in Deerfield Beach, Florida at the Rain Volleyball. I guess you call it a gymnasium. It's a really nice building. Great lighting, very spacious, great AC. And they even handed out food to the vendors, which was kind of cool. But I set up today, had a wide range of cards. If you look at my Instagram down below, you may see some of them listed in my stories if you catch it in time. I'll also post some more tomorrow. It's Saturday night now. Tomorrow will be Sunday. But yeah, so the one thing I noticed at the show was obviously it was 60% Pokemon, which was fine. We were set up in the back of the room, so it was a little bit of a hike to get to us. But I had a pretty good show. Sold a lot of higher end cards. So cards over $1,000. A good mix of some vintage or different sports, some basketball, sold some Jordans, sold some really good UFC cards, high quality stuff, GSP, Jones, autos, patches, etc. But the reason I want to discuss the show was walking around, you see so many different levels of collectors and collecting, and then Pokemon collectors, they collect $1 and $5 and $10 and $20 cards, hardcore, and those are the true collectors, or they're younger kids and they do it for the love of it. And then as you escalate and go up the ladder, the $50 cards, $100 cards, $1,000 cards, it gets more serious. And then you have people trying to flip stuff at that level, trying to scalp their percentage, or trying to do long-term investing. But even the concept of long-term investing, it's kind of interesting what that is. I think with today's mentality, long-term, people think 3 or 6 months or even a year is considered long-term, but I don't look at it that way. I think long-term is 5+. Which is tough to even think that way out. That's why if you're gonna play in this space, you need to use income that you're okay with losing and never getting back. But that's kind of another discussion, another video. But the thing I wanted to focus on is scarcity and accumulation as you start at the bottom of the pyramid where stuff is cheap and you go up the top of the pyramid. And I wanted to bring up this article, notboring.co. It's a Substack. I highly recommend subscribing. And basically in this article, very well written, it's a very lengthy article, and I sent it to a bunch of my friends on Instagram, but it talks about the concept of money, scarcity, and scarce assets, the abundance driven scarcity supercycle. So I'm obviously not going to read this line by line, but there's a couple of things I want to focus on in here. So it talks about this concept of macro assets. And I want to read this line here. As wealth grows and concentrates, demand for limited pool of scarce assets dramatically outstrips supply. Let me read that again. As wealth grows and concentrates, demand for a limited pool of scarce assets dramatically outstrips supply. And they go through a numerous amount of examples. One being Major League sports teams, and they demonstrate the example here, which I thought was fascinating. More relevant is the fact that the wealth of the world's top 100 wealthiest people has grown 10 times in nominal terms from $895 billion in 2000 to $7.2 trillion today. The world's richest 100 people are more than 4 times wealthier today than they were just a quarter century ago, and their wealth has grown twice as fast. Bill Gates was the richest person at the turn of the millennium with $60 billion. Today, Elon Musk and Larry Page have more money than all of 2000's billionaires combined. The amount of money that Campercom CEO Chen Tianchi made yesterday, rank him 60th in the year 2000. So the point of reading all this, the wealth is accumulating at a faster rate, at a higher rate to more people than any point in history. And I think that's important. And I think it's important to think about that. And I think that also, you're looking at the billionaire level, but also at the lower level, I think the amount of people making $100,000 a year and $200,000 a year and $500,000 a year and $1 million and go up the ladder increases. So these are the valuations of NBA teams. You see the chart is going up and to the right, which is usually a positive thing. Talks about housing purchases. And you're probably asking yourself, what the hell does this have to do with collectibles and UFC? Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. So you go down here and it has this basic concept that the wealthier people get, the value of rarer assets will continue going up in value. Because you have a pool of a huge amount of money fighting over limited assets. And it also introduced this concept of macro scarce assets and micro scarce assets. And the example it uses is a printing press. So when the printing press makes printed text cheap, handwritten text becomes more valuable. So think about that. As we move forward with technology, the stuff before it becomes financially valuable because in the current times, when it's being used in the moment, it's not as valuable. And we see that with technology. The stuff we're using now, the computers and the TVs, like I have a huge TV over here, cost me $1,000. That TV would have been $10,000 10 years ago. That generic concept of what we're using now, whether it's AI or my computer monitor or this microphone or whatever, it's cheap. And it has to be cheap to be available and affordable for users. But the stuff from the past, like old video game systems, vintage computers, all the stuff we're nostalgic about keeps going up in value. Why? Why is that? Because it's scarce, because people are looking backwards, people are scared to look forwards, and a lot of people are unhappy with the way the current world is. And I think it's been like that since human time, where people think that now is worse than ever. So the point of this entire article is that the money will keep chasing scarce assets. Those scarce assets will keep going up in value as long as you pick the right assets and you know the difference between something being scarce and desirable and people wanting it. And I think that's where the skill of investing in collectibles comes in. So why do I bring this up? The end, it kind of goes in a little bit more about collectibles and consumption and artwork and things of that nature. But it made me think about that at the show today, looking around and looking at the room. And like, what is truly scarce in that room? What is culturally relevant in that room? So like some of these Pokemon cards that are $10,000 or $20,000, like they have population reports in a graded 10 of like 10, 20,000. Certainly not scarce. Definitely culturally relevant. But will that stand the test of time? I don't know the answer to that. But to bridge it over to UFC. So I started thinking about my own UFC collectibles and steel boxes, steel wax, and the whole business of UFC getting bigger, TKO Sports with WWE, TKO, live entertainment, investing millions and billions of dollars in the brand of live entertainment. And as humans, as we're working less, and we're making more money than ever, we want to be entertained in doing things. And I think UFC collectibles have a huge runway, especially the scarce stuff. The stuff that's impossible to get, or that when it pops up and it goes through a huge number, it's like, holy cow, I didn't expect that. And you may never see it again for 5 or 6 or 7 years. So I was looking on eBay and I just sorted by highest now. And I'm just looking at some of these top end John Jones cars. And again, Anybody can list whether they want, but like you're looking at some of these, like the red ink John Jones here. Certainly an iconic card. Last one did about 40,000 at auction. I love this card, the 2009 main event with the fighter worn gear, even though it's a sticker auto. But it's even amongst like John Jones collectibles, how do you separate? How do you determine what is the one or what are the five? Like, is it because on the red ink it says John's Bones Jones? Like maybe the bones is enough of a separator from the blue ink, and maybe it's worth the premium. So you have the blue ink where it says John's Jones. You have the red ink here. The bones, is that enough? Is the red ink, which I'm a fan of, you have the bones, I don't know. It's really something to think about. It's a fun mental exercise, like what is going to be culturally relevant and important in John Jones collectibles in 5 years? What are people going to care about? Autograph style, autograph color. You know, historically, rookie cards have mattered, but even if rookie cards become unaffordable, if I want to put $1,000 in like $1,000 in a John Jones card, where do I go? Like even these, ton of social media on John Jones and Daniel Cormier. I think these cards are culturally relevant now because of their rivalry, and they're very smart to keep it on social media and keep it in our cycles and our Instagram reels. And I think that plays into it too. I think the athletes that aren't in the reels and aren't in our face and don't participate in social media, like take somebody like Armin. I mean, that dude's everywhere and he's not even fighting. But then you have fighters that have amazing records and they're great and they're exciting, but they have no social media presence. So I think having those moments as well is a big deal. But something for you guys to think about. When you're buying your UFC collectibles, why are you buying it? What are you buying? What is the method? Are you just buying what you like? You look, you see it, you buy it. Certainly done that. And I certainly still do that with certain things. But if you're trying to be smart, and you're trying to get ahead of the game, maybe it's a John Jones. So like you try to break it down. John Jones items with fighter worn gear, with an autograph, preferably on card, with red ink. Like maybe you break it down with an iconic image. Maybe that's part of it too. Something like this is kind of sick. I was like the Fist of Grass. Those are amazing. Very cool card. Squints on IG. One of the best to do it. But yeah, I want you to think about your collections and what the heck you're buying, why you're buying it, and maybe have some mindfulness to it. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick. Golden auctions. So golden auctions starting in, where is it? The auction starts in 11 days. It is the Combat Sports auction. I'm bringing this up. They only have 5 cards up. I'm going to pull them up real quick just to kind of look at them individually. This is going to be a huge test for the UFC collectibles market, of the strength of it and where it's at. So first we have the 1/1 Bloodlines McGregor auto. Absolutely insane card. But McGregor's market is down. And it's going to be fascinating to see what this fetches at auction. As it gets closer, I'm going to go through these before the auction goes live. And I'll make my guesses. I'm not going to do that right now, but again, sick card, opens in 11 days. Another one, 2025. GSP John Jones Anderson Silva on card 1/1 GOAT triple auto. If you look at some of the triple autos of the GOATs in the other sports, like the Kobe LeBron Jordan card, the 10/10 of that card, I think 3 million, 2 million, something like that. So if you take a value of that, what is this worth? I don't know. We're going to find out though. Dana White, 1/1 from the UFC round 1. BGS 9. They should have cleaned the case. I mean, my lord, what are we doing here? But insane card. It's going to be fascinating to see what these bring. 2010 Topps main event. 1/1 gold Royce Gracie. These are some of the most important cards of the hobby. I wonder, I mean, I don't know if these are the card fathers, UFC card fathers cards or not. I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if they are, but these are the type of cards that he would deal in without a doubt. And then we go to the 2013 Topps Finest Ronda Rousey Superfractor. Autographs off the sticker on the bottom, but for a card like this, it doesn't even matter. Pristine 10-9 auto. Ronda Rousey at the height of her superpowers. 1/1. I'm not going to personally bid on any of these cards. I'm really not into Conor all that much. I like this card. I don't love it. I'd rather buy something else. Dana White card is interesting. Not really one I'm into. The Gracie's sick. I like that card a lot. If I was going to bid on any of these, I'd probably be the Rousey. Just because I like Rousey cards, but that auto kind of throws me off. But again, does this fall into like high-end, culturally impactful, scarce, desirable assets in UFC? Are these the top of the pyramid assets? I would argue that they are. But if you only had a bid on one, which one would you pick? I don't know. The McGregor market's down so much, and I don't know what it's going to take for it to go up. He's going to have to fight and kick someone's ass and do amazing. This card might be the most stable, but they could keep reproducing cards like this for a long time. All these guys are still young. And they could keep pumping them out, so I worry about that. The Dana White 1/1 from round 1, that has a lot of different triggers for the cultural scarcity, which I like. UFC main event, Gracie, the 1/1. Another one. And the Rousey as well. It's going to be fascinating to see how that ends up. But let's keep an eye open. 11 days. Let's be ready to roll. So again, down below, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. But I want you to assess your collection. Are you buying UFC assets that you're doing for fun because you care about? Or you're also thinking long term of what other people may want, and maybe people with bigger pockets than you, what would they buy? And maybe framing your collection around that way will make you think about it a little bit differently. Instagram down below, Twitter down below, my eBay is down below as well. I have some things listed on eBay. If you see anything interesting, some UFC stuff on there, let me know. But until then, I'll be at the show tomorrow if you want to swing by. Deerfield Beach, Coral Springs Card Show, Rain Volleyball Center. I think it's 1801 Green Road, if I recall. So hopefully I see you there. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Stay safe, drink your water, be healthy, and I'll talk to you again soon.